Hey, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Shooting the Breeze. I am your friendly neighborhood soda, Miss Shenanda Lurbong, for the evening. As always, joined by Ben, Ken Adams, Rayner. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Really looking forward to getting into this.
Me too. Now, normally on Shooting the Breeze, we have a guest on. We talk about whatever for an hour, shoot the shit. Well, this week, we didn't have a guest and a book, and Ben had the idea. Well, hey, today, the day we're recording, is the day that the Friends reunion special dropped, and so he had suggested, hey, why don't we go over the episode? It was a great idea because if any of you guys know, we are currently doing our walkthrough of Friends proper on recapping the past, or as we're calling it for this installment, the one with the recapping. So for our thoughts on the actual series Friends, go check out those episodes over there. The next one is dropping tomorrow, I believe, season 7. But anyways, like I said, we're here to talk about the Friends reunion. Now, let's just go into things before we actually cover the show. What were your thoughts when they first announced a Friends reunion?
At first, I wanted it. I didn't want a new season. I didn't want a new episode. They gave me exactly what I wanted. I wanted a behind the scenes look at why we fell in love with the show more than 20 years ago now.
30. It's been almost 20 since it's been off.
Oh. Okay, how about you now?
So I wanted nothing to do with it. I didn't want it just because I'm kind of getting to the point myself where I'm sick and tired of constantly reviving old products. Like, I understand at one point they made money, so why wouldn't they make money now? But it's like, originality. Or if you're going to try to reboot something that failed. I digress. I wanted nothing to do with it, but because we were doing Friends, in the over on Recap in the past, and I hadn't seen it in a number of years. Watching it there kind of reignited my love for the show. And then it wasn't until I saw the first trailer, last week, where I was like, okay, I'm 100% invested. So I was up at midnight when it dropped. I watched it 3 times for this episode.
Okay, I have a question for you. You said you were against it. Were you against what we ended up getting, or were you against
the whole concept? The whole concept. Yeah.
Even if you knew.
Remember, though, when this was first announced, this was in 2019. So we hadn't had things like the Zoom Parks and Rec thing happen. We hadn't had things like people getting together and like reading the scripts for movies. We hadn't had any of that stuff yet. So that also contributed to that stuff happening and sparking my nostalgic interest and stuff. Definitely added to my excitement growing. But when it was first announced, I didn't want it.
And on a different topic, did you watch the Fresh Prince?
I still haven't watched the Fresh Prince one.
Okay. Yeah, there were similarities between these two.
Yeah, and one of the things I saw on Twitter was somebody said the Fresh Prince was about went and tackled issues and stuff like that, and Friends was about how white people made money. And I'm like, well, first off, Friends didn't really do any issues, so why would they start talking about issues? Like, it never was that show, and it's just like, so what if they're talking about making money? Like, this is a show celebrating something that millions of people love. Like, can't you just let it be?
No, Friends could be problematic now. Looking at
it 100% is. It 100% is. There's nothing wrong about that. But I mean, there are still people that enjoy the show and saying things like that. Like, I understand if you're not interested, fine, it's cool, whatever. But
don't let other people hear.
Exactly.
And I never get that, and I hate when people do it. And it's like, okay, you don't like it. You don't have to ruin it for people who do love it.
Exactly. Okay, so you know what? Let's just hop into it because I got a few pages of notes. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run down the basically do if any of you guys have ever seen Kind of Funny in Review, I'm going to be doing it in that style. I wrote down notes on what happened in the episode. Ben, whenever I say something and you want to talk about the subject or something around there, butt right in. Otherwise, it's going to be a short show.
Okay.
And another thing, because I'm lazy and because I really don't want to write out their full names every time, whenever I'm referring to Jennifer Aniston, Matt LeBlanc, any of the cast, I'm referring to them by their cast names because it's easier for me to write. And, you know, I feel awkward referring to them. Hey, look, it's Jen. No. I don't know them. So, but I know the characters. So I'm just gonna, I'm a little weird like that.
Yeah, I get it. Perfectly okay.
Okay, so the show, the reunion special, it starts with the last moment of the finale, basically where everyone, just after they put all their keys down on the counter, they say, you know, they show the cries, oh, you want to have coffee? Sure, where? It starts on that scene, and it does everything right up until you freeze frame on the door, and then all of a sudden you see 17 years later. And then they show Tanner. Yeah, sorry?
And then wanted to add that shoot with an improv line by Matthew Perry.
Of course. And we're going to see a lot of that stuff coming up. So it transitions back from the door, and then all of a sudden we're at the sound stage.
Sorry.
Oh, good. And then all of a sudden we're at the door to the sound stage. Now, what they did is they commandeered stage 24 where Friends was filmed. It's known as the Friends stage. There is a plaque on it that says is the Friends stage, and they rebuilt all the sets right down to the final T. So that's what David Schwimmer walked in on. And from what it sounds like, none of the cast members knew anything about this type of stuff going in, like what they're going to see and all that stuff. So he walks in and he gets hit with his big wave of nostalgia, which of course you will. You spend 10 years of your life on the set, of course. Next to arrive is Phoebe. And of course, she hugs Ross, and her words were, "This is the only thing I care about." They hug because they're close. And this is the moment we find out that the beam in Monica's apartment disappeared, and I never noticed. I don't know about you.
I did notice.
I must not have been thinking about it because, yeah, I didn't notice. But, I mean, it makes sense why it would. Like,
it's subtle. It's subtle. Like, you wouldn't notice until you notice.
Right. Like, I'll notice now that they said it. But the reason why I understand why they took it off is because in the little theater that I'm involved in, on the stage, the way it's an old church, so the way it's built, in the middle of the stage, you got this one big metal pipe. So I get it. And then next from there, we have Rachel arriving, and she, of course, looks for the tissue box because she cries a lot. Next is Joey, who arrives, and this is where we find out that Monica liked to hide her lines around she starts to say that Monica likes to hide her lines around the kitchen. That's when Monica arrives. So Joey decides to tell this story, and basically what happened was he went over to the sink and he discovered that she had written her lines in the sink. So when he asked her what was it about, she told him to shut his mouth. So as to get back at her, he went to the lines that were under the fruit bowl on the counter, and he wiped them all clean, and she got really mad at him. So when he told her the story, she didn't remember it.
Talking about the order who showed up first and second and that, were you surprised that there were Schwimmer and Ross who showed up first?
See, I was thinking about that because it almost follows the pattern of how they were cast.
Right.
But it doesn't, after, and we're going to get into that later, but after Ross and Phoebe, which were the first two to be cast, actually, I do have it here. Like, Chandler arrived last, but he wasn't the last cast. It was Rachel.
Right. Chandler was thinking of that, I believe.
Yeah. It was... It was kind of out of order, but I think it might have had to do something with that, or I'm not really sure. But I mean, it was just nice seeing them. I like the way they did it, where instead of everybody showing up at once, it was one by one.
It kind of, to me, I don't know why it felt like that Ross was first. There's no reason why it should, and there's no reason why you haven't gotten there yet, but there's no reason why Chandler being that should feel right.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, to me, it did. It's like, oh. Maybe save the best for that.
Yeah, of course. And as of course, the best does arrive last, none other than Mr. Chandler Bing himself. And of course, Rachel utters the words, could he be any more late? And then boom, opening credits, and then they intersperse obviously the famous credits with them around the what you call it? The fountain. Around the fountain with shots from throughout the reunion, which was nice. And then all of a sudden, credits are over. James Corden, your master of ceremonies, introduces the friends for a Q&A in front of the fountain, and he does a lame joke about turning it off. I'm not going to get into that.
I don't hate him, but and what he was there to do, he was good at it. But I felt like it could have been anybody in that chair.
Yeah, it really could have been. I don't know where I got the idea that it was Oprah at first, but yeah, it makes sense because James Corden really is the go-to guy for hosting right now, and I do understand why people get annoyed with him because he's kind of always there.
Okay, then it came to me. You know who I would have picked? And I think it would have looked great. Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, that would have.
I think that would have been 10 times better.
Yeah, but no, actually, yeah, that would have worked because I was going to say, but it's different network. No, it was NBC. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But Fallon probably would. Yes, Fallon would have worked better.
The only issue is, I guess he's on the East Coast and this was happening here on the West Coast. But there had to be a way to get him here if they really wanted him.
I don't know, but I mean, we're not here to speculate on
all that shit. I'm sorry. We're here to talk about this.
Because I was going to say, basically at the end of the day, things like that don't really matter.
Right, exactly.
Right? Like he did a good job? Yeah.
He was fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got thoughts on that type of stuff for things, but that's for another time, another show. Yeah. Anyways, so James Corden asks the cast what it's like being back together. Rachel says everyone slipped kind of back into things, and Ross says he's had fun, pretty much saying that they've regressed back to how they used to act around each other when they were doing the show. Because I didn't know this, but they'd only come together one other time since the show ended. And it was that famous photo that Jennifer Aniston put on Instagram a couple years ago. I'm sure you know what photo I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I always thought maybe they'd get together once a year, once every couple of years, but no, this is only the second time since the show's ended that they've gone back together. So yeah, Rachel says Rachel and Ross pretty much both say everyone's regressed back to their habits. Chandler doesn't hear from anyone. The creators are introduced in the audience, and they are Kevin Bright, Marta Kaufman, and David Crane.
David Crane. Yeah. Do you think they knew they were there before that, or do you think they were a nice surprise for them?
Oh, I'm sure they knew everyone who was involved because they are executive producers, so they had to have some input. But I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't know how everyone was going to be involved.
Okay.
Because as we're going to see later, they didn't know that Joey was going to do what he did. It didn't look like it anyways, because you can see like Rachel looking around and stuff. So it's a little gray.
Okay.
So, and after they introduce them in the crowd, we start going into like the documentary portion, which is basically interspersed throughout the episode is they're talking to the creators about the origin of the show and things that happen. So we get the origin of the show, and basically when they're talking about how to pitch the show, it's basically a one-story pitch, which pretty much sums it up. It's about that time in your life when your friends are your family, and that's what this show is about. Because as they said, they wanted to do a true ensemble piece. They didn't want it to be like one person, their friends. No, they wanted everybody to have. It was the 6 people, and that was it. And they nailed it pretty well. Nobody got short shafted once in any episode.
No, it was pretty equal. If I had to pick 2 who were the lead, I would say maybe Ross and Rachel, but I think that shifted to Monica and Chandler towards the middle of the run.
Towards the middle of the run, yeah, and then at the end it was back to Ross and Rachel, yeah. And then after that, you get the cast walking around the set and reminiscing. You see Joey and Chandler back in the Barker Loungers, and of course they do the whole "oh" thing, which was great.
How awesome was that? How it made me feel like I was back watching this again.
That's actually happened to me with what happens next. It's when they're talking. It's when they realize all the boys are in their chairs, and Rachel starts talking about the one with the ball, and they couldn't remember who was in it. And then they walk. So she walks across to the other apartment to ask the boys who's in it. And the way it felt right, because it felt like it was right out of an episode. The way it was done, like she just literally walked out with one apartment across the hall and stood in the hallway, like she did God knows how many times in the series. I guarantee you that was not planned. That couldn't have been planned. There's no way that was planned. Any of that stuff. I don't know. I just get. They're not that good at actors.
Well, okay.
So yeah, and then afterwards you see everybody walking around backstage. They show you where the change rooms were. They did their old huddle that they used to do. And then now
almost heavy episode.
Yeah. Well, we're doing it in order, my friend.
Okay.
Yeah. Shh, we're doing it in order.
You want me to do this?
Yeah. Okay, so now James Corden asks the cast their favorite episodes, and so Monica says she loves the one with the embryos, especially the game part. And then cue the gang back in the apartment set in front of a live studio audience playing the game, only this time it's questions about the show. Now, Ben, are you ready?
Yeah.
Now, okay, so basically I'm just going to ask you the ones that actually had answers. I'm not going to ask you, like, name the voice, right? I'm not going to do those ones. Okay, so question 1. Rachel wrote Ross a letter demanding he read it before they got back together. How many pages was that letter?
You want me to 18 pages? Front and back.
That is correct. Okay, I forgot to do this part for question number 4. Okay, so question number 2, it was a voice challenge, and so they played a clip, and they had to guess the actor by the voice, and it was none other than Larry Hankin returning as his character Mr. Heckles, who we haven't seen since season 3, his last appearance. No, he died in season 2. We saw him in season 3 in the one with the flashback. Remember, he's the reason why Joey moves in.
Here's saying.
God dang it. This is what happens when you don't properly prepare, folks. Okay, and then third question. According to Monica, how many erogenous zones are on the female body?
7.
And she even did that. Yeah. So, Rachel's good. Hold on. I'm just trying to find it because I want you to try to do number 4, but I just need help with it. Oh, they don't have the freaking. Okay, I can't do it. I was going to get you to finish the lyrics for the song.
Oh, I know the last word.
But it's like I couldn't find. I didn't have time to write it down, and I couldn't. I thought it would be in the quotes on IMDb, but apparently not.
Okay, so they want the answer?
I know you know it. Okay, and then next we could do a cut, and we go to Reese Witherspoon talking about her time playing Jill. So here she reminisces about how much she enjoyed it while it was on, and then when her agent went up to her and said, hey, do you want to be on Friends playing Rachel's sister? She's like, did I win the lottery?
I love to think Reese there. How much more special would it have been if it was Reese and Christina giving an interview together about being both of the sisters?
It would have been. But, there's probably, remember, this was in a bit of a pandemic and stuff. So who knows? It would have been great. Like, there's a lot of people I would have loved to have seen. Oh, yeah. Okay, and then so she's talking about all that, and then she's talking about how, like, one of the things she knows how they're all professionals and, like, how funny they could be and, like, how well they knew the characters. And then it cuts back to the cast doing another table read, but this time it is the famous jellyfish scene. And so it's the scene where they reveal what happened with the jellyfish, and this is where the first time you get to see where everybody is Their character is still inside them, because while they're not acting around and doing their things, in their movements and in their face, and you're going to see this as we progress more through these table read-throughs, you could see the characters are still in there. So you could see Ross emerge. You could see Joey emerge when Matt LeBlanc's doing his lines. Like, you could see the characters come out. It was so cool to see.
Even Shannon.
Yeah, well, okay, that part they cut to the episode, but yeah, I would have loved to see him do that noise if he did it. Which, yeah, it's one of those ones they keep forgetting he does that noise.
Matthew Perry and David Schwimmer are great at making high-pitched noises.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, again, we'll see that later on during another table read-through.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they do this read-through, and then they cut back to the cast sitting in the Central Perk set, and they're talking about Phoebe starts it off saying, the very first time I met any of you guys was the very first table read-through, and then Rachel says, oh, I don't remember the guys so much, but I remember what you and Courtney were wearing. And I'm like, of course she does.
I mean, would you have it any other way, though?
Nope. No. And so now we cut back to the creators of the show, and this is where we get into the casting of the show. And they said that casting was really hard. Ross was the first one cast, and when they were writing the role, they wrote it with David Schwimmer in mind. So obviously they offered it to him, but as is revealed in this reunion special, he had some bad experiences on sets doing TV shows, so he pretty much left that behind and moved back to Chicago to go do some theater in Chicago. So the producers had to like really work on him to get him to accept, and so he was the first cast. Phoebe was the next role cast, and Lisa Kudrow was cast pretty much based on her performance as Ursula.
Right.
And then next was Joey, who was cast, and he tells this story in front of the audience back at the Q&A portion about the time he busted his nose the night before his final callback. Pretty much saying he took a chunk out of his nose, and when they asked him about it, he told them the truth, and he got the job.
It sounds like something that would actually happen in showing Symbiotic, too.
It would, yeah. It's kismet. It's kismet. I mean, this is my favorite part of the sequence, is when Phoebe realizes she has a bug in her hair, and she freaks out exactly like Phoebe would.
Yeah.
And so seeing that, and then hearing things talking about laughing and about Lisa Kudrow's laughing, it makes me realize a lot of the actors are infused into their characters.
Let me ask you something. That thing with the bug, was that real or was that fan?
That's real, because that fountain is outdoors.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that fountain is on the Warner Brothers lot, and it is an outdoor. That part is outdoors. So it is, yes. And I don't think they would. They're the cast of Friends. They don't need to go that low for a joke.
Okay.
And then so we're back to the casting, and Monaco's next. And didn't really announce anything special about that, other than like obviously Courtney Cox going into this was the more famous of the bunch, and they didn't really want it to be the Courtney Cox show, and it ended up that's how it worked. So because she wasn't that famous.
Did you see her when she was on Family Ties?
No. That's the only thing out of the things she was famous for that I didn't see. Like, obviously, saw his feature. I've seen the Dancing in the Dark music video, and of course, Masters of the Universe. That's the only thing I hadn't seen was Family Ties.
And don't get me wrong, she was in one or two seasons. She was in a lot, but you should go back and watch an episode or two with her.
If I ever find it, yeah.
It's kind of trippy.
Yeah, if I ever find it, I did see the stuff with Matthew Perry, which was really good, though.
Yeah.
Okay, and then so they finally reveal. Now we're on to Chandler, who is cast. Now, it was tough because he had already signed on to do a pilot for a show called LAX 2194 about luggage handlers in the future of LAX. I wonder whatever happened to that show.
Am I the only one that kind of hadn't seen that show now?
I'm going to quickly see if it's on YouTube. Because sometimes pilots do end up on YouTube.
Yep.
And then finally, it's revealed that Rachel was the last one to be cast. Now, her as well was also tough because she was also contracted to another show, a show called Muddling Through. I guess it's basically about restaurant in the backwoods or something like that. And she had to go. She went and asked those producers, "Hey, I really love this other show that I'm doing. You need to let me out of my contract." And what they ended up doing was they ended up filming this. They said the first 2 to 3 episodes with Jennifer Aniston in the role of Rachel, hoping that something would happen with his other show. But then they said if NBC had picked it up, they'd had to reshoot the first 3 shows. So thank God Muddling Through got canceled.
Can you imagine if that didn't happen?
We wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be here talking about Friends.
Right. Because you can't, that character was so hard to portray because, yeah, I think they even said on paper, she comes across like a self-centered pit. Yeah, a bit. You walk that fine line. That's hard to do. And Jennifer Aniston pulled it off beautifully. And I don't know if anyone else would have done it.
Like there are a lot of other things where you hear like, oh, so and so was up for this role, and it's somebody that's famous. Like I can see that. With Friends though, this is one of those shows where you can't see anyone else doing these roles.
They didn't mention it last night, but this is crucial. They didn't take another pilot before Friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. She did. Yeah.
Frasier.
Wait, she did? That was the pilot?
Yeah, she was.
Oh. Well, I'd say it worked out good for both shows.
Yeah, there's a mention of that. Everything lined up exactly where it was supposed to be, and it was great.
Mm-hmm. And so after that, we transition back to the game portion. Question number 5. From behind the curtain, which of these 3 are the identical hand twins? So there's Hans, and then Matt LeBlanc or Joey walks up and he shakes number 2's hands like, this is it, number 2. And of course, it is none other than Thomas Lennon.
Okay, here's a question. Did he know which one to pick?
No. Think about this, though, Ben. Think about this. Remember the episode where he's in? Think about how much time Matt LeBlanc spent touching Thomas Lennon's hands. You would remember that.
Okay.
Think about that.
To tell you the truth, I was hoping for a tiny bit more between Thomas Lennon and Matthew Perry. Only because they had a little more of a history.
Yeah, because the Odd Couple. Yeah, but this wasn't about the Odd. But that's the thing, though. This wasn't about the Odd Couple.
No, the Odd Couple and that movie they were in together.
Oh, yeah. 17 again, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe one or two more lines between them would have been nice.
Well, but here's also the thing, though. Like, there's a lot more that was filmed. Like, you could tell that there's cuts.
Right.
Yeah, like that's So I mean, like, because I was thinking about that. It's like I would have liked to have had more interaction between the Gellers and the cast. We only got the one thing. Like, I mean, that's just the way it is. Like, I'm sure there was more talk with others as well. But anyway, so back to this. So now we're on question number 6, and it is another. Can you guess this voice? And it is none other than Tom Selleck as Richard. Now he has a bonus question. Monica famously chose Chandler over Richard. What did Chandler do for a living?
I'm trying.
Yeah, and she does answer like that as it's great. It was but no, what do you know what the answer that was actually on the card was? I wrote it down.
No one knows.
Nobody knows.
But
really.
That's not true. They knew go over. They knew in real what he did.
Yeah, in the very, very, very beginning. Yeah, but I mean that's one of those continuity schmontinuity things, right?
No, like in season 9, after he quit.
They reveal what he does, but the gag is nobody remembers.
No, okay.
Yeah, that's the gag. It's not that they don't know what he does. It's just they don't know what he does because they don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the gag.
All right. Okay, you clear that up.
I thought the gag was more straightforward. I guess not. And just so you know, feel free to make fun of me anytime anytime as well. Okay.
Okay.
I'm all game. Okay. Next, we're on to Joey. He tells the story about basically the question was asked, when did you guys know how big you guys got? And Joey tells a story about how some news channel were doing aerial shots, live aerial shots on the news of all their houses. And he says he looks so closely and he says, oh man, my roof's a mess. And so, of course, when they leave, he goes out and goes up on the roof and, hey, there's leaks. So he had to go call the roofer. I thought it was a pretty funny story.
Great story.
Yeah.
And a little creepy that at one time they were watching all 6 houses.
Oh yeah, that's probably wasn't like a national thing. That was probably like a local Los Angeles thing. But I'm with you. That's a little creepy. I don't think they do that anymore. Thank God.
Well,
I would hope not.
Yeah, I would hope not.
Okay, and next they decide to take questions from the audience. So the first question that was asked, what about the show didn't they like? And while I knew that Ross wasn't a fan of the monkey, I didn't realize he hated the monkey. Holy crap, he went on a rant.
But not before he made sure he loves animals.
Yeah.
He
loves all animals. He doesn't hurt animals and like that. It's like, yeah, okay, but man, he really hated it. And I can understand that. Like, I mean, like it's an animal that not really clean. Like I understand why he's upset, but it's just too funny that he still holds a grudge 30 years later.
I didn't realize that monkeys eat bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were feeding him live bugs. Mm-hmm. He really I would eat that monkey too if I were him.
Yeah, it was just great seeing everybody's reaction. It's just like, what was it? Chandler's like, what was it? Something about being serious. It's like Matthew Perry came in with the quips every once in a while, and they were pretty good.
Yeah, I love that monkey bit.
Yeah, and then so they take that question, and then they go to the next question to the lovely older couple sitting over there in the audience, and it is none other than Elliot Gould and Christina Pickles, Mr. and Mrs. Ross Geller. And so they asked him what it was like to work on the show, whatever. And they gave this sweet little tidbit saying how much the cast loved them and they loved the cast. And there was one episode they went in to record and the cast said, hey, look, it's the parents. It's the parents. They looked at them as if they were the parents of the show. And even the Gellers said, look, there were times where we were worried about those and we did look at them as if we were parents.
Can I just say, from their age, they look great.
Yeah, they do look good.
I wish we got a little more from them, but I'm not.
That's the one I would like. Obviously, we'll get to him later with Gunther, but that's actually those two are one of the ones I wish we got more of because we barely got Elliot. We barely heard Elliot Gould speak,
and I wish we got more Tom Selleck.
Yeah,
I feel like they didn't really use him.
But here's the thing, though. Like that's all down to editing. Is unfortunately what it is because I guarantee you they did more with them, and they just had to make it quicker. They had to get the best take, right? Because because God, I would have loved to have more, but if we had more with everybody, man, I'd still be here on my first viewing.
Let me ask you this: we got a great 2-hour clock. Would you have liked it if it was like a 4 or 6-part miniseries for 6 weeks?
No. It's too much for a reunion.
Okay.
Based on what I've seen, I wouldn't have been too upset with another hour, to be honest.
You wanted 1 more hour.
I could have, if they said, hey, it's 3 hours and it was like this, I'd have been freaking happier in the pig and shit. Like, I mean, I like by the time it was done, I could have kept going, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and that was at 2:00 this morning as well. Okay, and then next we get to another celebrity discussing about the show, and it's none other than British football star David Beckham, who says he loves Friends, and his favorite episode is the one where nobody's ready, especially the scene where basically where Joey runs off his clothes. And then that's where we cue to the famous story about how Joey separates his shoulder or dislocates his shoulder, something like that. And of course, it's something that if you're a big fan of Friends, you know about it, but they actually showed the take. And as they said, like, we got 3 good takes. For some unknown reason, they decided to do a 4th, and that's the one where he hurts himself. And if you look at it, it's a little funny. The way he lands, you think it was his right shoulder that got separated, but it was actually the other one that was more straight. Yeah,
and,
ouch.
Man, when he stood up and you saw it,
Yeah, it was like down here. It was like, oh, brutal. Yeah. And they had to stop filming, and obviously because he needed help. And like they said, we couldn't finish. We had to end the day of shooting right there. We just couldn't do anything with him. And then the stuff that they could do, they waited till he was ready, and then they just filmed it real quick and sent it out. Yeah.
And finally, we were able to keep the episode order intact.
Well, here's the thing though. If you pay attention to what they're saying, they said they did it in real time, which means they filmed it like a stage play.
Right.
And that kind of happens in the last third of that episode.
Give or take.
Yeah, give or take. So I mean, they could easily have come back real quick and film that stuff, right? Yeah.
Okay, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Because that is an easy episode to film.
Exactly, because it's just the 6 of them. Yeah, it would be different if it was like, say you had like 2-3 guest stars in it. That would be a little different.
Right.
And then that transitions into the creators and the cast talking about show night, which is the most important night of any TV show, because that is where you tape the show in front of a live studio audience. They talk about that, and this is fun because this is, as you and I have said many times, this point that I'm about to talk about is where the show changed. And they were talking about they're happy that the one time they listened, the one time they listened to the fans, the most was when Chandler and Monica appeared in bed together. Because originally it was just conceived as just going to be like, it was just a London thing that they're going to wake up and realize, what are we doing? But then when Monica sits up and reveals herself, they let the audience keep cheering because the response was amazing.
Did you realize the clip they played was extended last night?
Yeah, they did that with all the clips. They did that with all the clips, all of them.
I noticed more with this one.
Yeah. No, they did it later with when they're talking about the finale and they show Ross and Rachel getting when she gets off the plane. That's an extended take as well.
Right. Okay.
They did that with every time they showed a scene, they showed the full thing. So where was I? Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, imagine a show if they never had Monica and Chandler hook up.
Mm-hmm.
How different would it?
It would have been very different. It would have been very different. So it's one of those, thank God the audience responded the way they did.
Do you think it would have lasted 10 years without them together?
They could have. The show was that popular that I think they could have, but they would have probably recycled a few too many things if they had of. The addition of Monica and Chandler as a couple opened up the world of possibilities.
And I remember the creator saying last night, one of the favorite bits about them hooking up together was that secret of them hiding.
Yeah, which all came organically out of the reaction that the audience had. And they're right. They got so much good stuff out of that relationship. It's kismet. Like, that's what it was.
It's like, what didn't happen? You're like, of course it's going to happen.
And the beauty thing is, they said it was pretty much organically, because even after they filmed that scene, they had the summer to kind of process it and decide what they're going to do. They said even at first they were like, "Oh, we're just going to still do like a small fling, and then they're going to end it." But then it grew organically, which is amazing to hear, because that's the beauty of art, is when something happens organically and it works.
Remind me off air. I'm gonna tell you about something.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, and the next we're on to our next celebrity, and it's Mindy Kaling, who reveals her favorite episode is the one with all the kissing. Basically, it's the first episode after they come back from London, and Chandler gets caught making out with Monica. So as he's leaving, he kisses Rachel, he kisses Phoebe. Joey freaks out.
I don't think that show could fly today, could it? Joey being all homophobe like that?
Yeah, I think that's one of the more tamer jokes. I'm sure if you consulted the right people, you could get away with versions of that.
Okay.
But I think it is a tame enough joke that you
okay.
So yeah, so they're talking about that, and then we're going to cue into our next table read through, and that is the cast doing the read through of when Phoebe finds out about Chandler and Monica. And up to this point, this was my favorite read through because everyone got into character.
This is your favorite episode.
This is my favorite episode, yes, and it was great to see everybody get the character and Lisa Kudrow going full Phoebe on it and doing everything they did in the episode. And it was at this moment that I realized they might still remember their dialogue. Because there are times when the reason I say this now, granted, when if you've read stuff more enough, when you're reading through, you can't get so at some point you'll be able to look away from your script, and that's probably what happened. But I did notice during the thing that they actually went off script a couple times.
Right. And then we have to talk about David Schwimmer's reaction.
Oh yeah, David Schwimmer's yay! The fact that he did it, like this honestly, this reunion made me actually appreciate David Schwimmer more.
Well, I think Kevin might be a jackass and an idiot, but David Schwimmer playing him is top notch.
I agree. And this, no, I 100% agree with that. We go to our next segment, which is we're in the coffee house, and Phoebe pulls out her guitar and tells everybody, "Don't get excited. I haven't done this in a long time." And she starts to play "Smelly Cat." She does the verse, she does the chorus, and then all of a sudden, Lady Gaga walks in like she can do whatever the heck she wants. And, on the third time I'm watching, like, I really didn't have a problem with Lady Gaga being here. Because, I mean, it makes sense. You're going to do a musical segment, biggest star in the world, Lady Gaga.
Is she really the biggest one? I mean,
she's one of the biggest ones.
I feel like I'm not a fan. I'm sorry. I'm not a fan of her.
That's perfectly okay, but, I mean, that's perfectly cool. I mean, but think about it, though. Phoebe is like one of the weirdest TV characters. Who better than to come and do that segment than one of the weirdest pop stars in the world? Like, I swear to God, she was dressed like Phoebe. Oh, come on! If Phoebe was a mega pop star,
no, you're right. I'm just thinking about it for a second.
Yeah, like, I mean, I get it. She can be very polarizing. I understand all that, but I'm just saying, like, in terms of optics, like, I can't think of a better person.
And I hate you a minute, but I think you're right.
Yeah. So yeah, they play along. And there's a one point where they're talking about the lyric where it's just like, "And you're not a friend to other people's noses." And did you notice the Lady Gaga did the nose thing from A Star Is Born?
No, because I haven't seen that movie.
It was all over the promotion.
Okay.
Which reminds me, I would remedy not watching that movie. It's a good movie. But yeah, no, when they're talking, she does line, she actually does the thing for the movie that her and Bradley Cooper does. But that was a pretty cool touch. And then all of a sudden the choir comes out.
Not my favorite part. Not my favorite part.
And it makes me laugh because they're both like, "What the hell is this?" And I'm wondering is Lisa Kudrow really in the character of Phoebe? Because before she started playing, she's like, "Oh, I should do this as Phoebe." And I laughed because she looked up and she's like, "Okay, I'm there." And it was like, man, she got into character pretty damn quick.
Was that Phoebe? Well,
it felt like Phoebe.
I think you're right. I think what he said, "I'm going to do this like Phoebe."
It felt like Phoebe.
Yeah.
Yeah, right down to when everything is done, and after the applause died down, and Lisa Kudrow turns the guitar, is like, "I still think I did do it better by myself." I'm like, that's totally Phoebe.
Yeah, that is Phoebe.
Yeah. All right, and then next we're getting on to the cast, who talks about what they've seen on the show, and everyone's saying, a couple of them I haven't seen the seasons, or I've only seen a couple, and then of course Joey gives the most Joey answer. And he says, "I have a hard time watching because I'm seeing myself delivering these lines and it's all bullshit, if you know what I mean." And they're like, "That's what you do for a living." He's like, "Yeah, I know, but when I'm seeing it, I know it's not real, but you guys are really good." I'm like, that is such a Joey answer. Because the way he says it, it takes you a minute to, like, piece it together.
I think out of everyone, I think Matt LeBlanc looked the best.
I'd say Lisa Kudrow as well. She looks like she hasn't aged.
maybe Matt LeBlanc for the guys and Nathan Kudrow for the women.
Yeah, like Schwimmer still looks really good. But yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that. And then next we find out this is going to another celebrity thing, and we find out Jon Snow's mom was a Geller, thus making him a member of House Geller. So they have Kit Harington says, jokingly says, "I'm a member. I feel like I'm a member of the Geller house because I'm a lot like Monica." So that's why I did the joke, because he's Jon Snow, and yeah. Okay. To quote the great Peanut, okay. He tells his favorite episode is the one with the pivot scene, and we get a blooper that had me in stitches. Like, we would get the occasional blooper throughout the thing, but this is the one that's funny because it's during the famous pivot scene, but everyone broke down laughing, and David Schwimmer was not helping things by every once in a while just going, "Pivot!" And everyone looked like about to piss themselves laughing. It was just so ridiculously funny.
I did notice something about that scene for the first time. When the scene starts, I never noticed what position Matthew Perry was in.
You didn't notice him under the couch?
No,
oh, he's in the worst position.
It looked so painful.
Oh, it has to be. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, it didn't look good. Oh, that was a great blooper.
Oh my God. Come on. Kevin. Yeah. Shut up. Shut up.
And then next we transition back to the cast in Central Park, and they're discovering about stage marks. Now, Ben, do you know what stage marks are?
What I was able to piece together is each person has a different color that they need to stand on for some reason. That's all I know. Okay.
So, what stage marks are, like, yes, you just said, everybody gets a different color. What it is basically, it's an indication on where you are supposed to stand when you're delivering certain lines, is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, like, so you know when they were doing the read-throughs, how one of the cast members who wasn't in the scene was reading the stage directions?
Yeah.
The stage directions and stage marks go hand in hand.
Gotcha.
And then, yeah, so they're talking about stage marks, and Joey tells the story about, which is a funny story, about how he kept screwing up. Like the one time he looked at his stage mark when he was doing a scene. So the first take, he runs in. It's the scene from the episode, the one where Dr. Omori dies.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Okay,
because that's the only episode where Joey talks about. Joey actually interacts with the TV guide thing. Okay. So yeah, so he runs in. He's supposed to say, "Hey, Phoebe, guess what I got?" But as he runs in, he trips and he just face plants right on the ground. He gets up all embarrassed. Second time he does it, as he's running, he looks down in his mark and he pops back up, and of course everybody laughs. The third time he does it, and they're showing all this as they're recounting it. He runs in and he grabs the chair to pull closer to him, sit on it, and it falls over. And then, as they say, and then Joey says, "And then that's where you came in," pointing at Chandler. And Matt LeBlanc says, basically, "Yeah, I heard somebody was getting a laugh. I didn't like it, so I ran in and took a laugh for myself." So they do the scene again, and just as Joey grabs the chair, Matthew Perry just jumps out of nowhere, just lands on him. It's like, oh, they must have had so much fun doing that show.
Yeah, it's a great scene. You see why Chandler is so great. Why everyone is so great. It is amazing.
Yeah, and from that, we're getting the cast watching more bloopers. I think this is where we see the rock, paper, scissors scene from the final season where Joey's doing the flame. And Ross asks, "What the fuck is that?" And then they do the next tape, and Joey does the flame again. Ross is like, "What's that?" Joey's like, "It's the fucking flame. What do you think it is?"
I love that. Yeah.
And so from that, they're talking about who has the loudest laugh, or who best laugh, or whatever. And it's brought up that Lisa Kudrow out of the cast has the loudest laugh, which is true. And then all of a sudden, from the back, we hear, "Oh my God!" It's none other than Maggie Wheeler making an appearance as Janice, and who comes down and she sits with the cast. And like everyone, all the other guests, does one question. It was, where did Janice come from? And as she says, basically, she got the pages in her fax machine, that's how long ago it was, folks. She got the pages in her fax machine. She read that it's a high-strung New York type. She's like, "Oh, I know that. That person's in me," and that just came out. And the laugh was because of Matthew Perry.
Right. I gotta say, when they said who has the strongest laugh, I too was thinking, of course, it's a Control.
Yeah.
Who would have thought Maggie Wheeler in that moment?
Yeah, right, because you're just so into it.
Right, but when you hear that, oh my God, you're like, of course, it's fucking Shannon.
And another person can just slip in and out really easily.
When she was telling that story, did you hear Shannon's the voice come in as she was telling that story?
I did, but this is another thing I noticed, that Maggie Wheeler in real life sounds like a less intense Cher.
Okay.
It's just the first. I heard a little bit of Cher in there.
Okay. Not me, but okay.
Yeah, I don't get it either. It just that's one thing I picked up. So Janice leaves, and then we get another guest. This one is a Zoom call, but is none other than Gunther himself. And it took me a moment to recognize him, because obviously Gunther is one look, and then to see him, it's like I had to sit there and I had to look. I'm like, I don't see him until he started talking, and it's like, oh, okay, there he is, because he doesn't really have bleach blonde hair, and he had a beard, and obviously he's older. And
You think he should have bleached his hair for this?
Yeah, he should have been there, but it's another one of those. It is COVID. There's probably a lot of things going to it. We don't know if he's immunocompromised. We're like, is this the time we're in?
Yeah.
It's acceptable.
Right.
And we get another question from James Corden, and this time he asks the cheeky question: were there any off-screen romances? And this is where I'd say the biggest thing to come out of this reunion special happened. I would agree. I would argue
100%. 100%.
So it turns on to Ross and Rachel, who reveal that in real life, during the first couple seasons, they actually were crushing on each other. And it was just like Ross and Rachel. It was like ships passing in the night. They were never single at the same time. And yeah, that was really that was the news coming out of the reunion special, was that there was potential that Ross and Rachel in real life could have gone together.
And their kiss? Where's their first kiss?
Yeah, because Jennifer Aniston had said that she had said to David Schwimmer at one point, like, it wouldn't suck if our first kiss ever was on national TV, and lo and behold, it was. And that transitions into, I'd say, the best table read-through, which is when they reenact Ross and Rachel's first kiss.
Yeah.
And yeah, this was, this is how strong the performers are and the words. You felt the same tension you felt the first time you watched that episode.
Now, I always said, they're a toxic couple. Do they belong together? I don't know. But in that moment, they were the couple of the show.
You could feel, because it is tied so closely to what they had just revealed, you could tell the genuine love between Jennifer Aniston and David Schwimmer when they were doing that scene.
Right.
And just the fact that they were still, after all these years, because that would have been, 1995? 27 years later, they're still able to do that scene and still, with no rehearsal, and still have it feel the same.
When you, if the producers were coming to you right now asking you, would you put this scene in or the end of the club video episode where Rachel goes up to Ross and there's a big wet one on him?
It makes more sense for this one, because while the prom video is the most famous episode, from everything I gathered leading up until the moment that they did in this episode, was really where everyone was at the height of will they, won't they.
Okay.
So I would have done that, because I think the moment itself was bigger. Even though the other one's like, okay, now they're finally together. This is the one where they first kiss.
I would lean more towards the other way, only because it involved more of the cat.
Yeah, fair point. But I mean, there were some of the other ones that they did where the cocaine.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, either or would have worked, but there's just something about the first kiss where.
No, 100%.
And then from there, the cast, they talk about all the guest stars that were on, like how David Schwimmer is one of his idols. Sean Penn was on, and you had Julia Roberts, and I love how Jennifer Aniston was this and who got to have fun with Julia Roberts.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that bit and I thought of you because I know that's your favorite scene.
Yeah, the bathroom scene is one of my favorite fucking scenes because Matthew Perry plays it off so well. Who are some of your favorite guest stars? And I know Robin Williams and Billy Crystal are right at the top of their list, but who are some of your other favorite guest stars?
Julia Roberts, Jean-Claude Van Damme,
yeah,
Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
Can I say Tom Selleck or is he?
No, I actually would also argue for against Favreau in this sense because he was signed on to be a recurring character for the season. That's not a guest. I mean, it's a guest star, but I guess guest episodes, guest one spots. I guess is more the thing.
Charlie Sheen.
Yeah. Let's not forget Brooke Shields in there. Ben Stiller, and they played Ben Stiller, of course, and they played
Ben Stiller. That's my favorite one.
And they played the blooper about him yelling at the Ducks and how nobody can handle it together, keep it together. Yeah, there's so many great.
Christine Taylor.
Yeah,
and Reese Witherspoon, Christina Applegate, and probably one of the biggest ones, Pitt.
Brad Pitt. Yeah. There was a lot of great guest stars on this show. And out of that discussion, it comes time for the fashion show. All right. So first we have none other than the lovely Cara Delevingne walking down in Rachel's bridesmaid dress, complete with the skirt tucked in her underwear, which I thought was a nice touch. Moving on. And then next up, we have in Ross's iconic leather pants, none other than Cindy Crawford, who I haven't seen in a really long time. Damn, she looks great. I didn't because I haven't seen a recent photo of her, so I really didn't know, but she looks amazing still.
I'm green. Yeah.
Next up, and this one, when I heard that this person was announced, I was like, "What the fuck?" But then when I saw this, it made me smile. Only time I've ever appreciated this guy. And it was Justin Bieber as none other than Sputnik, Ross's potato costume.
Yeah, and he was going to be in this. They found the right role.
They found the right way. If you go look at my social media history, you will see that once upon a time I was very vocal against Justin Bieber. But this, I will admit, made me smile. And next up, we have Cara Delevingne returning once again in probably one of the most famous costumes, the Holiday Armadillo. Kudos to her for doing this. That is awesome. Yeah. You can tell she's got a good head on her shoulders to be able to do this. She's one of the most beautiful women in the world, and to walk down a runway dressed in a full armadillo costume.
As long as she doesn't do the dance, I'm okay.
Okay. And then finally, and I'm convinced nobody knew about this, the last one, and actually probably the most iconic costume, Joey Tribbiani himself coming out wearing all of Chandler's clothes.
Okay, I have a question about that. I've been keeping an eye, I've been selling this in a trailer. I've been keeping an eye out this whole fashion show.
Yeah. So when Cara Delevingne was out in the armadillo costume, if you look closely, Matt LeBlanc wasn't there.
Okay, so
you do see him not there. And I was on the third watch through. I was sitting there wondering, man, he did that really fast, and I was probably wondering it was probably just one big giant suit made with a zipper in the back.
And probably not the authentic one.
No, it's probably the authentic one. That's something I think they clearly would have kept. You'd be surprised what they keep. You'd be surprised what they have in storage on those big sets. Oh God, yeah.
Okay.
You'd be really surprised.
But when we first saw that outfit, it looked like it's genuine layers on layers on layers.
But I don't think it. I don't think so either. Because that could you imagine actually doing that? That would have been tough.
Okay, yeah.
And like, I mean, I'm nowhere. I've done plays, so I have a vague idea of how that is. But when it comes to costume change, especially quick costume change, you have to get it done as quickly as possible. So I do think the original thing was a bodysuit. It's the only way you can do it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then from there we get, which when you get to this part, you're like, shit, time is almost up. They all start discussing about the finale and how you see a clip from ET saying how it's like one of the most anticipated finales of all time. And then the creators talk about what they wanted from the show. Basically, they wanted to end with everybody basically in a good place. And that is what we got. We got Monica and Chandler going off to live their life with their children. Ross and Rachel got back together. They're happy. Mike and Phoebe are together. They're happy. Joey, give him a piece of lint. He's happy.
No.
Oh yeah, that's right. He moved to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
For a couple years, and I still haven't seen that series, and I probably.
Are we considering that canon?
Yeah, we have to at this point. I mean, it's not really up to us, anyways.
Okay.
Yeah. But basically, yeah. Then they get asked the question if they would ever consider doing a movie reunion episode like a proper reunion episode, and I am against it. And the reason that Lisa Kudrow gave, which she heard from one of the creators, actually is perfect. It's just like, we left these characters in a great place. Why would we want to unravel all that?
Exactly. I thought that was perfect.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think it would have been better. I think this is better anyway.
Me too. I
don't think a proper episode or a proper movie, I don't think that would come off that well.
Me neither. The only thing I would enjoy is if they did a one-off like Parks and Rec did. That's the only way I'd be say I'm all for it, because I don't think yeah. But it's not official. That's why.
I don't think someone like cast.
Oh, they will never do it. But I'm saying, like, personally, that's the only way I would be on board with it.
I don't think someone like cast are even up to it.
No, why would they? Like, I mean, why ruin something that was so good?
Right.
And off of that, they do ask the characters where they all are. Ross and Rachel obviously are still married and they had more kids. Monica and Chandler are still together. Monica's still nuts, even though her children are adults. She's still volunteering as part of the PTA and at all the bake sales. And Chandler is still there somewhere, according to Matthew Perry, which I thought was pretty funny. Phoebe is still married to Mike, and they live in Connecticut with their family. And how she said Phoebe's probably the one who's the advocate for all the weirdos out there. I'm like, that seems about right.
You know what? This is the only thing I didn't fully buy.
What, that she's with Mike in Connecticut?
In Connecticut. I believe she's with Mike. But a part of me feels like they would be on the road as a music couple.
Yeah, that seems the more likely. But as it's Lisa Kudrow who said it,
yeah.
Okay. But I'm actually on your side. I do think that's more likely. Or at least maybe that's what they did for a while before they started to settle down. I do think it had to happen at some point.
Okay, that's
yeah. Yeah. And then when they asked Joey, Joey opened a sandwich shop over in Venice Beach. Yeah. And then from here we get the cast discussing, like, everyone discussing what the show means to them and whatever. And we get a lot of stuff, videos from the final episode, the final scene that they shot, which is them going through the hallway down the stairs, how they had their own private moment, which I thought was beautiful and I didn't know about before, how the cast and the creators had their own private moment away from everybody at the end of the stairs to say goodbye. I really liked that.
That was beautiful.
It was very beautiful. And then they reveal, and then they said the thing is, as soon as I yelled cut, they started taking down the set because they had the pilot shooting next day. And I'm like, well, that sucks. And then that's when they revealed everyone stayed behind and they had an impromptu party. I'm like, that would have been fun.
Yeah.
And then that's where they all stand the back of the set. And if you notice, they put a piece of plexiglass over it, so it's actually still up and preserved. And all the cast crew signed it, and they were trying to find each other's things, and they found Matt LeBlanc's, which says, I poop here. That is so silly. Yeah, very much so. And then that's basically what the last of it is everybody saying how much they're appreciative for everything the show has brought them, how they're appreciative for everybody in their lives from the show, how much it's made them all like family, and just that type of stuff, and the stuff you love to hear. And as Courtney Cox says, they need to get together more often, because twice in 17 years for a group that was that close is not acceptable.
Would you want them to do this again in another 15, 20 years?
Nope, I don't want another Friends reunion. When I say they should get together more often, I mean as friends.
No, I agree with you on that. I'm just saying, would you? No. Okay, so
this is the last episode was a great way to wrap up the series. This was the perfect dessert.
I don't like Toy Story 4.
Yeah, I guess. Like an epilogue of sorts.
What?
It's like an epilogue of sorts.
Yeah.
And so that brings an end to Friends the reunion. Yeah, like I said earlier, I had very hesitant when I heard about it, but now that I've seen it, it's everything I wanted.
You've seen it more than me.
Sorry, what was that?
You've seen it more than me.
That's true. Well, yeah. Like I said, first time was when it dropped, and then I watched it again this morning. I watched it again during lunch, and then I watched it again not less than an hour later. I had it on again so I could start taking notes. I was like, and I was sucked in every time. At one part, like at the beginning, I had to pause a lot because I would start writing, but then I would stop and I would forget to write because I was just so entranced on what was on the screen.
Here's a question for you. I think two questions. Will they ever do this with How I Met Your Mother in 15 years? And would you want this?
I not know. I don't think so, because while it is my favorite show, and while it was popular, it wasn't Friends popular. Like, I mean, anything is possible. I would be up for it, but to get what we just got with this Friends reunion with, I don't know. I really don't. Truth, the one I really want to see.
Yeah?
It's the place where everybody knows your name.
They've done that. They've done that so many times.
Like this?
Not like this, but they done reunion stuff, especially in Frasier.
No. That's not what I'm talking about. Like, they appeared on. I'm saying a special like this, where they bring everybody like this. I know that other characters. I know that. I'm saying another show that I think would do great in this format is Cheers, because if I'm not mistaken, everybody except Coach is still alive.
Yeah.
So you could conceivably do it. Christy Alley might be a little bit on the outs. I don't know, but
there's one more show I would love, and I don't think that this will ever happen, only because of who's involved. And nothing bad. Don't get me wrong, nothing bad. Seinfeld.
Seinfeld is actually the next most likely.
No, it's not, because Larry David will never do that.
Well, no. I mean, they're not going to do it, but okay, I should rephrase that. That is the one show that could pull off a Friends-style reunion like this.
Yeah, like this.
With all the hoopla and stuff like that. That and Cheers, I think, are the only two.
But it would never happen in Seinfeld because Larry David won't do it.
And I don't think the guys want to do it as well. Like, they pretty much made it vocal over
the years. Yeah.
So yeah, that is our thoughts and our guess, our review of Friends the Reunion, or as it's also known, the one where they get back together, which I actually kind of like that better.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. And is there anything more iconic than these 6 people walking like that?
Yeah, but it still is pretty iconic. Because there is two more iconic silhouettes out there.
Of Friends? Or
no, period. Like, I mean, I would put that up there. That's one, though, if you did it in, like, just the shadow, it could be kind of a little bit harder. But the way it's lit right there, it's pretty damn cool. But I mean, like, in terms of, like, knowing who characters by silhouettes, Indiana Jones, Darth Vader.
Okay.
Dark Helmet.
Okay.
Rocky, maybe.
Well, I'm going to say Rocky.
Rambo.
What?
Said Rambo. That's a duh.
Yeah.
But
Miyagi.
Miyagi, yeah. Trying to think who else. I can't think of any more.
I Love Lucy.
That one you would need the voice.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so that has been mine and Ben's review discussion about Friends the Reunion. Tell us what you thought about the reunion special, what you thought about our show in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. Ben, where can everybody find you?
You can find me right now on Twitter at Ben_Rainy. Every Tuesday right here on Shooting the Breeze. Every Friday on Recapping the Past. Every Saturday on Get Ready. Also on Saturday, Matt Schmodown, my Schmodown show that I've been going into players' careers. Last week we went through Clark Wolf. This week we're going through Alex and Damon. And Matt is going to guest on that, actually.
Yeah, that's going to be a great episode. And as for myself, you can find me, as it says underneath, at soda_the_saxman on Instagram and Twitter. You can find me on all the shows on this channel that Ben has, as Ben has already said. You can also find me over my other channel, Schmoes of the North, where every week we break down the matches of the Schmodown League. So yeah, we're going live every Friday nights, and we go live also every Sunday morning as well. So don't forget to check that out. Producing a Star Wars show on Saturday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern time, called Let's Talk About Star Wars. Just a couple guys having fun. Gold Leader from the Schmodown is one of the hosts on there. And so you can check that out. Canadian Comic Book Corner is coming back, I believe, next week. I've got a lot of stuff. Holy shit. But yeah, sorry?
I said you and me both.
Yeah.
You and me both.
Really, there's only like 2 nights a week where I don't do anything. Well, yeah. I mean, Saturday night I don't do anything, but Saturday morning I do. Really, the only day I truly don't do anything is Tuesdays. Pretty nuts. But yeah, so that's where you can find me. And like I said, don't forget to like and subscribe to this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Media Sways Network and also to Schmoes of the North. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. This has been a great time discussing it. Rewatching this Friends this time around has made me realize it was lower on my list of sitcoms than TV shows than it should have been. It's probably my number 2 favorite show now.
Wow.
Yeah, just because I forgot how much I loved it.
Wow.
Yeah. So on that note, we will see everybody next week back here on Shooting the Breeze. Don't forget, everybody, stay sweaty and smash cans.